Yeah, but John Jones doesn't want to do that. He wants to go off and do other things with his life. He wants to go off and become an actor, and he wants to have maybe a couple more fights and then go off into the sunshine on the back of an absolutely glittering career. Unbelievable stuff. But he's got to fight Tom Aspinall. That's just a fact. And if he wants 6 months, I don't understand that. Because training camps don't take 6 months. Typically, a training camp is 2 months long. Or sometimes people do a pre-camp. Now, a pre-camp usually is when a fighter's let themselves get really out.
50-plus pound frame, his movement's fucking extraordinary. And that's something you have to deal with. Like, that is a crazy ability. Like, his ability to move, like the way he moves, is so much different than everybody else in the sport. Incredible stand-up, knocks guys out with one punch, black belt in jiu-jitsu, really good wrestler, his everything, and he's young.
So what's your prediction if it happens?
It's hard to bet against John. It's hard to bet against John. But John's not a real heavyweight. Yeah. John could make light heavyweight, 100%.
Well, you can't criticize John Jones' career. Maybe there's some stuff outside of the octagon, but that's not what we're talking about here today. And if you're a perfect human being and you've never made a mistake, then go ahead. Cast your first stone. I'm not sticking up for anybody. I'm not defending anybody. I'm just saying we're not talking about that. We're talking about what he's done inside the octagon, which is nothing short of sensational. On the flip side, so is what Tom Aspinall's done. That's why we all want to see this fight. So 6 months, that is...
From a lightning-fast wrecking machine on the rise to a legend who's ruled the game for over a decade, Tom Aspinall and John Jones aren't just two names in the heavyweight mix. They're the storm everyone's waiting to see collide. And with John Jones still out and the division hanging in suspense, the dream matchup between him and Tom Aspinall has fans and fighters buzzing like never before. Bisping's calling Tom the future. Joe Rogan and Derek are breaking down every angle on their podcast, going deep on what might happen if these two finally throw down. And let's just say, they're not holding back. In the podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, right from the jump, Joe throws the big question on the table. What actually happens when Tom Aspinall fights John Jones? And more importantly, there's a real hope it'll happen. And that hope feels more like a ticking clock than a fantasy.
Twitch, Aspinall's one of the fastest heavyweights. He might be the fastest heavyweight in the history of the sport. I don't think anybody moves like that guy does. At a 250-plus pound frame, his movement's fucking extraordinary. And that's something you have to deal with. Like, that is a crazy ability. Like, his ability to move, like the way he moves.
Joe and Derek start pointing out just how absurdly athletic Tom really is. At 250-plus pounds, this guy moves like a welterweight. His explosiveness is rare, not just for his size, but for the division, period. They even float the idea that Aspinall might be the fastest heavyweight in UFC history. That's a wild claim, but when you watch him bouncing on his toes, darting in and out, it kind of makes sense. There's just no one at that weight class who moves like that. It's not just speed, it's fluidity, and it's terrifying to face.
Is so much different than everybody else in the sport. Incredible stand-up, knocks guys out with one punch, black belt in jiu-jitsu, really good wrestler, his everything, and he's young.
So what's your prediction if it happens?
It's hard to bet against John.
But what makes Tom so dangerous isn't just the movement, it's how complete he is. Joe runs down the list: clean striking, one-punch knockout power, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, solid wrestling, and to top it off, he's still in his prime. He's not a one-dimensional threat. He's not a guy you can just take down or wait out. If you're not ready from the first second, you might not even see the second round.
It's hard to bet against John, but John's not a real heavyweight. Yeah. John could make light heavyweight, 100%. He weighs 230 right now, maybe a little less than 230. There's no doubt in my mind that if John just changed his diet and went back, he hasn't put that much mass on that you would say 205 is out of reach.
No, it's fluffy weight.
Yeah.
A lot of it too.
Yeah.
Now, enter John Jones, the wild card, the chess master, the GOAT in so many people's eyes. Joe Rogan doesn't hold back when he talks about John. He straight up says it's tough, really tough to bet against him. And honestly, can you blame him? This is a guy who's been dominating since he was practically a kid, a fighter who's made legends look ordinary and always seems to be playing 3 moves ahead. Even after all this time away, even with all the uncertainty around his recent activity, there's still that aura, that feeling that John Jones knows something the rest of us don't. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Physically, John isn't a true heavyweight, not in the way Aspinall is. Joe points out that John's walking around at about 230 pounds, and if he really wanted to, he could probably make 205 again without too much struggle. That's wild when you think about it. John's on the smaller end in a division full of giants. Now stack that up against Aspinall, who's sitting comfortably at 255 pounds of solid explosive muscle. That's a 25-pound difference. Not a small gap, especially when we're talking about two elite fighters at the very top of their game.
I mean, look, he had always had the reputation of fucking all the heavyweights up at Jackson Winklejohn. Always. Everybody said, like, when Brendan went down and trained with him, Brendan was a heavyweight, Brendan Schaub, he's like, he fucked me up. He goes, dude, I was like top 10 in the world as a heavyweight. I thought I was the shit. He fucked me up. He goes, he beat my ass. And he goes, he beat everybody else's ass too. All the other heavyweights ragdoll dudes.
Derek brings up John's gym stories, the ones where he mauled actual heavyweights in training. Guys like Brendan Schaub, who at one point was a top 10 contender, came back from Jackson Wink just shocked. John apparently tossed him around, beat up everyone, and made it look casual. So while he might not be a true heavyweight by size, he's always handled them like it was nothing.
Much longer than his height, though, too. It's
crazy.
like, yeah, it's insane.
Crazy reach, and also just skillful.
Yeah.
His skills are so rock solid in every way, shape, or form. His stand-up, his submissions, he's crazy strong. He's got just an insane mind for fighting.
And would he blow out Pereira, you think, where it's not even a worthwhile?
And that's the thing, John isn't just a physical outlier. Joe and Derek highlight how technically sound he is in every department. His striking is precise, his ground game is deadly, his fight IQ, off the charts. You don't see him rushing for finishes or brawling for fanfare. Everything John does is methodical, calculated, and built to break you down, piece by piece. He's not flashy, he's truly surgical with his craft.
The problem is the ground. John's so much better on the ground, like worlds better, you know, and it takes so long to get really good on the ground. And we've seen Pereira get in trouble with guys on the ground that are nowhere near John's level, nowhere near. John dominates everybody. He took down Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is an Olympic wrestler. I mean, he's a fucking phenomenal wrestler. And John took him down, and took him down multiple times. It's a different dude, man.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about, like with genetics. Right?
One major weapon John has over most guys is the ground game. Rogan points out how Jones took down Daniel Cormier, an Olympic-level wrestler, multiple times. That alone is ridiculous. John doesn't just hold his own against top-tier grapplers. He dominates them. That kind of control can end fights fast, especially against someone less experienced on the mat. This leads them to Pereira, who's been caught on the ground before. And Joe straight up says John would likely run through him in that department.
Right? There's some guys, they're just blessed. And then with John, it's blessed and his mind. It's not just, it's his personality, his like ruthless competitiveness. It's like, he's not going to fucking lose. He's going to find a way to get you. And he's going to do it clever. He's not trying to take a bunch of punishment and to stand and bang. He's not going to point the center of the octagon. Let's go right here. We'll stand right here. Never going to happen with John Jones. You're not getting none of that, son. You're getting knees to the gut. You're getting your knees kicked. You're getting.
But then they circle back to what makes John John. It's his mentality. He's got that vicious drive, that clever, ruthless edge that refuses to lose. You won't catch him planting his feet in the center of the cage yelling, "Let's go." Nah, you're getting tripped, kicked, elbowed, and dismantled over time. He's a tactician, and he's not here for a slugfest. He's here to dominate without taking damage.
Fucking just laced up with elbows where your fucking head's bleeding. He's gonna slowly dismantle you and find a way to submit you or punish you, beat you to death on the ground. But can he do that with a guy like Aspinall, who's a legit 255-pound natural who moves like he's 80 pounds lighter? He's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Aspinall's a freak. Like, I've seen a lot of heavyweight, even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scary.
But the big question lingers. Can he do that to Tom Aspinall? This is where things get murky. Aspinall isn't just another name on the list. He's a natural heavyweight with terrifying speed and elite level timing. Rogan flat out says he's never seen anyone move like that at that size, not even Francis Ngannou. And that's saying something. Francis might be the most feared striker in heavyweight history, but Tom's in a different lane when it comes to speed and fluidity. That right there is the real dilemma. Jon Jones has made a career of breaking down opponents, but Aspinall's physical tools might force Jon to play a completely different game. He can't bully him with size. He can't coast. This would be a fight where both men would need to pull everything out of their bag. And honestly, that's what makes this potential matchup so addictive to talk about. And just when you think the excitement can't build anymore, we cut to another voice in the fight game who knows a thing or two about stepping into the fire. Michael Bisping. Sitting down with Carl Froch, Bisping doesn't hold back. Froch throws him the question we've all been debating. Who wins, Jon Jones or Tom Aspinall? And Bisping's response. It's confident, it's bold, and it might raise some eyebrows.
Who wins? Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I've actually had Tom Aspinall on the channel. I mean, Tom's a small favourite, isn't he?
Yeah, no, and he should be. He should be. Listen, Jon Jones is great, and you can't deny what he's done in the octagon, the career that he's had, and he's technically unbeaten.
Bisping wastes no time. Tom's a small favorite, isn't he? Froch asks casually, and Bisping agrees. Not only does he say Tom should be the favorite, but he also starts laying out why in a way only Bisping can. He tips his hat to Jon, calls him great, even acknowledges that technically he's unbeaten. But then comes the turn. Everyone meets their match eventually.
However, everyone meets their match eventually. And I think Tom Aspinall's the new generation. He's the new breed. And he'll go down probably as the greatest mixed martial artist that we've ever had. He's elite as a heavyweight. A lot of the heavyweights, they're good, they're very strong, they're powerful, but they're not as quick and as agile.
And in Bisping's eyes, Tom Aspinall is that match. He doesn't just hype Tom as a future champ, he straight up says he could go down as the greatest mixed martial artist Britain has ever produced. That's no light praise coming from the first British UFC champ himself. And here's the thing, it's not just about power or size. Bisping dives into what makes Tom different from your average heavyweight, his agility, his technique, and his fight IQ.
And as technical as Tom. Tom's the whole package. He's like, there's a fighter called George St. Pierre, who's one of the greatest to ever do it. Tom's like a heavyweight George St. Pierre. He's got no weak areas. He's got absolute knockout power, super disciplined, super agile on the feet. He finishes everyone really, really quickly. However, he hasn't gone up against somebody like Jon Jones because, as I said, the competition in the heavyweight division isn't necessarily there on a technical level. Jon Jones is, and Jon Jones has fought way better competition than Tom. That's just a fact. But Jon's never fought anyone like Tom either. Jon has never fought anyone the size of Tom and that can generate that kind of power.
He even compares him to George St. Pierre, calling Tom a heavyweight GSP. That's the kind of statement that instantly grabs attention. No weaknesses, knockout power, high-level grappling, fast finishes, clean striking, and above all, discipline. But Bisping doesn't ignore the flip side. He's quick to point out that Tom hasn't faced anyone like Jon Jones either. The heavyweight division isn't exactly stacked with technical killers, not like light heavyweight was during Jon's reign, and Jon has been through wars with elite-level opponents for over a decade.
He had two heavyweight fights, one against Cyril Garner. He took him down really quick and he choked him out. And then he went up against Stipe Miocic. He was really good and, he had a good little go. But he was 42 and he hadn't fought for a while and he's getting on. Tom's 31 in the prime of his life. And I would be very surprised, and this sounds disrespectful, but I'd be very surprised if he got...
Still, Bisping sticks to his guns. He highlights how Jon's only had two heavyweight fights. One was against Cyril Gane, who yes, Jon handled with shocking ease. And the other, it was supposed to be against Stipe, but that never materialized the way fans hoped. And even if it did, Stipe's 42 now and hasn't fought in years. Meanwhile, Tom's 31, in the prime of his life, and according to Bisping, if Jon makes one wrong move, he might not get out of the first round.
I recognise that Tom's got a bit of size advantage on Jon Jones, and some of the fights I've seen Jon Jones in, I'd find it very difficult to pick against him, but the size and like just the way you've just explained Tom Aspinall and the fact that he's a potential all-time great and he does everything well. I mean, if you're saying that, then it's obviously, I'm taking that as...
Froch listened carefully, and you can tell he's intrigued. He brings up the obvious, the size advantage Tom has over John, and how in some of John's past fights, he's looked beatable. And when you pair that with what Bisping just said, about Tom being potentially one of the most complete fighters we've ever seen, yeah, Froch starts leaning toward Team Aspinall too.
Maybe there's a little bit of bias there, right? And it's not because I don't have respect for John Jones, because I do, and I have him down as the greatest of all time that this sport's had. I mean, it's a sport that's very young, it's still in its infancy, and as of right now, he's probably the greatest of all time. But he's just never fought anyone like Tom, and maybe he will prove me wrong and prove everybody wrong and prove the doubters wrong, and maybe he'll put Tom in his place. But we won't know until that fight happens.
Is the fight happening?
I mean, it should be.
But Bisping stays grounded. He says it clearly, there's no disrespect to John Jones. In fact, he calls him the greatest of all time right now. But greatness in the past doesn't always translate to dominance in the future. John's never fought someone with Tom's combination of power, timing, and footwork. And if that fight happens, it's going to answer a lot of questions for a lot of people.
It should be. Tom's the interim champ. John's the undisputed. Apparently, Dana told Tom at the weekend that the fight's happening. They're just figuring out the if, buts, wheres, whens, you know, the purse and all that type of stuff. But apparently everyone's in, so we just got to wait for the announcement.
We could look forward to that one. You mentioned GSP there, George.
And speaking of that, Froch tosses the question we're all screaming at the screen. Is the fight even happening? Apparently Dana White told Tom the fight is happening. They're just ironing out the purse, the location, the timing, the usual business details. But everyone's on board. John's in, Tom's in, Dana's in. Now it's just a matter of when we get the official word. So we might actually get John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. The greatest of all time versus the most dangerous new blood in the game. And if Bisping's prediction is right, that fight won't need 5 rounds. It might not even need 2. Now, all this talk has fans buzzing, because this isn't just a battle between 2 champions, it's the potential clash of 2 eras. But what's interesting is that John Jones and Tom Aspinall don't even have much personal history, no long-standing feud, no years of trash talk, just 2 men standing on opposite sides of the mountain, one who's ruled it for over a decade, and one who's racing up the slopes at lightning speed. Their names have only started circling together in the past year, and it's all thanks to how quickly Tom's star has risen. After John returned to the UFC and quickly grabbed the heavyweight belt, fans immediately asked about fighting Tom. But back then, Tom was still healing from an injury. His comeback wasn't guaranteed, but when he came back, he steamrolled through everyone, and suddenly the whispers turned into demands. And you can bet John heard those whispers. He posted cryptic tweets, hinted at legacy fights, and watched from the sidelines as Tom claimed interim gold. The tension between them isn't personal, it's professional. It's 2 alpha dogs in the same cage. It's unfinished business just waiting to explode. And now, with Dana saying the fight's in the works, this could finally be it. The fight to define the heavyweight division for the next decade. If John wins, his GOAT status becomes basically untouchable. If Tom wins, he became the man who ended an era and started a brand new one. But now it's your turn, because we want to know what you think. Does John Jones still have enough in the tank to handle the new wave? Or is Tom Aspinall about to do what no one else has done and hand Jones his first real loss? Drop your predictions in the comments below and tell us how you see this one playing out. First round knockout, 5-round war. Will the legacy be cemented or shattered? And if you're as hyped for this fight as we are, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more combat breakdowns, and don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss an update.